The biggest debate in NFC East history. One of the biggest debates in football history. And these two guys aren't even retired yet, and this is already one of the biggest debates in NFL history. One of the biggest debates around the world, but one of the biggest debates between these two fan bases. Today, I'm going to settle that debate. As the Eagle fan on this side, I'm going to try to be 100% non-biased. Yes, some biasness might come into effect to this, but like I said, as this being one of the biggest debates in NFL history, you have to be non-biased. You have to speak facts and nothing but the facts. And this will be the final debate that I will do between Dak Prescott and Carson Wentz. What's good, YouTube? It's your boy MG Nas, and I'm back again with another Eagles video. And today, man, as y'all heard it from the man himself, this is the final debate, one of the biggest debates ever, probably the biggest debate in NFC East history. Carson Wentz versus Dak Prescott. As the Eagles fan here, like I said, I'll try to be non-biased, but it's going to be hard to do that. But we will get through this video, and for the next 10 to 15 minutes, I'm going to break down everything I can and see who is the better quarterback overall, all around, talent-wise, on the stat sheets, all of that. So, before we get into this video, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you comment down below your thoughts and opinions on today's topic. Subscribe to the channel. And make sure you share with your family, your friends, and sports fans around the world, as we are on the road to 100 subscribers. We are currently at 81 at the time of this recording, so I would appreciate if you share it out and hit the subscribe button. Appreciate it always. Now, as I get into this, let's just start off in the 2016 draft. The second overall pick, the Eagles select Carson Wentz. Dak Prescott later in the later rounds gets selected by the Cowboys. We get to preseason. Both quarterbacks when drafted are expected not to be the starters. The Eagles, which had Sam Bradford still on the roster at the time, the Cowboys had Tony Romo at the time. The Eagles have decided to trade in the offseason of 2016 Sam Bradford to the Minnesota Vikings. Now, Dak Prescott, training camp gets here, preseason gets here, and he's still expected to be the backup quarterback for Tony Romo. And then Seahawks versus Cowboys in the 2016 preseason. The Seahawks versus the Cowboys. Tony Romo, in the first quarter of that preseason game, gets sacked, gets injured, and he's out for the year. Now, it's Dak Prescott's turn. Dak, having a chip on his shoulder that he's had since college, is ready for this. And the season goes on, and the first matchup between the Eagles and Cowboys, it was won by the Dallas Cowboys. And on Sunday Night Football, in overtime, Dallas drives down the field and score on Sunday Night Football. The Dallas Cowboys received their success from that game on, go 13-3. Their last game against the Eagles, they lost because of them already clinching a playoff spot. So, when you compare their rookie years, obviously it looks like Dak Prescott had a better year, but not that much significantly, if you consider the fact that Ezekiel Elliott carried that team. So Dak proceeded in the playoffs. He had a first-round bye, and then they played the Green Bay Packers in the divisional round. Dak, losing the game by a lot, having the chip on the shoulder that he has, drives down the field multiple times and ties the game up. But that wasn't enough, as Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers drive down the field, sideline catch, Jared Cook, Mason Crosby, game winner to send the Cowboys home. The season after, Dak Prescott and Carson Wentz's rookie season is under their belts. They learned a lot, both of them, and they both continue to progress. Now, as the season goes on, the Eagles, with the best record in football, meets the Dallas Cowboys. And what do? They beat the Dallas Cowboys without Ezekiel Elliott, but they beat the Dallas Cowboys nonetheless. Now, from that game on, just like the year before, the winner of the first matchup proceeded to go on, have a great season. But before we get to the end of the season, week 11, Eagles-Rams. Carson Wentz gets sacked. Or no, Carson Wentz, he rolls out looking. He runs, dives to the end zone. It was a penalty, so it eventually got called back. But he got tackled in a very awkward position. But knowing the toughness and the determination that Carson Wentz has, he felt a little pain. But, he got back up because it was 4th and goal. And, knowing Doug Peterson, the coach that he is, he's going to go for it. So they proceed to do that. Carson Wentz drops back, throws a touchdown, and caught it by Alshon Jeffrey. Okay, all fine, right? Walks to the sideline, celebrating with his teammates. But then, national TV comes back from commercial, and they watch Carson Wentz walk to the sideline. Carson Wentz with a little face that, you wouldn't, a face that a quarterback wouldn't make after throwing a touchdown. With a little bit of frustration, and he walks to the sideline, and they report he's out for the game. Okay, well, as a fan, he says, well, he's walking correctly, so it must not be that bad. Might be soreness, maybe cramps, maybe, he twisted his knee. All we know is knee injury, and he's out for the game at this point. So we continue to watch the game. It's a very close one. Nick Foles seals it for us. So we all think, okay, he has a knee injury, but he did walk off, If you can walk off, you should be fine. He walked under his own power, no stretcher, no anything. So maybe it's just, like I said, maybe it's just a sprain, soreness, But the next day, Eagles fans, hearing what they don't want to hear, Carson Wentz ends the season with a torn ACL. Not to mention, he had 32 touchdowns and only 7 interceptions that year. So now that we looked at their first 2 seasons, Dak Prescott, you can say he had the better rookie year. Carson Wentz, he had the better sophomore year. Okay. Now the third year, 2018, Carson Wentz, the hype is around him after his MVP-type season before getting injured last year, comes back, play Dallas. Now, this is a very interesting matchup against Dallas. It was at AT&T Stadium on the America's Game of the Week. And Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott in the fourth quarter go through a shootout. Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott both proceeded to drive their teams down for 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to send it to overtime. The Dallas Cowboys proceeded to drive down the field, and on a heartbreaking play, Eagles corner Rasul Douglas tips the ball up. And Amari Cooper, with his concentration and his great catching ability, breaks our hearts. Now, you can say that wasn't Wentz's fault, right? Because the corner, instead of tipping it, he should have caught the interception. But, the game, usually, when you look at wins and losses, the first thing they look at is the quarterback. Second matchup, I'm sorry. And then they proceed with the season. Now, Dak Prescott makes the playoffs at 10-6. But before we can proceed with the season, what happened again after the Dallas game? Carson Wentz out for the year, lower back injury. Dak Prescott proceeds to go in the playoffs, so as the Philadelphia Eagles, but with Nick Foles. The infamous double dink play happened that day, and Dallas also won their game that day against the Seattle Seahawks. Now, that makes the playoff record between the two. Dak 1, Carson Wentz 0. Now, as far as that season, Dak Prescott, as far as passing stat-wise, didn't have a great season. Nor did Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz had 21 touchdowns, 7 interceptions after a very shortened season. A season where he expected to come back stronger as he tore his ACL. Yes, he did play the first 5 games back with a knee brace, but he eventually snapped out of that. Now, when you look at year 3, you look at the interest, because yes, Dak did get a playoff win that year. But was he significantly better than Carson Wentz that year? Well, not really, but I guess you can give that year to Dak. Now this is year 4. Now, this year, did Dak have the better stats? Absolutely. The first time they matched up, who won the game? The Dallas Cowboys. Pretty handedly. Zeke had a good game, Dak, Amari, all that good stuff, right? Okay. But unlike the 3 other years, the team who won the first game would usually just go on to have a great season after a win over their biggest rival. Well, it didn't happen that way, as the Cowboys suffered losses earlier in the season to the New York Jets, or later in the season to the Chicago Bears. It's set up for a Week 16 matchup between, who else? The Eagles and Cowboys. Now, you can say Dak had better stats. I'm okay with that. The statistical wise, Dak did have the better stats. But Carson Wentz, in head-to-head, when it mattered most, when his team needed him, when both teams needed their quarterbacks, who showed up? Number 11 for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, you can say, oh, well, Dak was injured. Dak had a hurt shoulder. Well, if Dak had a hurt shoulder, to my knowledge, he wouldn't be overthrowing receivers. He would be underthrowing receivers, because if Dak had a hurt shoulder, or maybe you can argue, oh, well, he had a hurt shoulder, so maybe he tried to, fire it a little too hard because maybe he thought he would underthrow it originally. Maybe you can make that argument that he overthrew it because he put a little too much power. But why are you putting too much power if you're injured? Now, let's backtrack. A couple days before, they said Dak Prescott has not thrown a pass that whole week. I'm a guy where, injury in Philly sports is common. But with injuries like that, and the way Dak was still throwing pretty good passes against us, I find it hard to buy it. And maybe you can argue this is my biasness kicking in, but even as a non-Eagle fan, it's kind of tricky on how he was still throwing pretty good passes and 50-yard passes down the field on a hurt shoulder, when if your quarterback has a hurt shoulder, you're doing a lot of play action, 10-yard throws or 15-yard throws. You're not really doing 50-yard passes, right? Unless you're getting blown out and you need a big play, but it was never a blowout in the game. The score was 6-10. Okay, so they meet head to head. Carson Wentz won that matchup. His team went to the playoffs. What happened again? He got injured. And that leaves us now to this right here. Carson Wentz versus Dak Prescott. Now, despite Dak Prescott playing 10 times more games than Wentz, their stats are exactly the same throughout their career. They both have the same amount of touchdowns. Wentz has one less interception, and Dak has about 1,000 more yards. So, with the shortened seasons, you can argue Dak Prescott is better, but despite this year, Carson Wentz has always had the better stats. Talent-wise, Carson Wentz's talent is top 5 in the league. Dak Prescott's talent. Now, this is how I feel about Dak Prescott's talent. He's a good quarterback, but his talent is just overachieving. He's overachieving. He's a good scrambler, good passer, good in the play action, good in the pocket. But all those things I just named, Carson Wentz is a great down the field passer, great scrambler, great athlete, great thrower on the run. And by the way, he's the number 1 red zone quarterback from last year. So Dak doesn't have him there either. When you look at the talents, it's not a question that Wentz is better. But when you look at the stats, they're very equal. So, as I end this debate, right here, the better quarterback, talent-wise, we know who that is. But stat-wise, they're pretty equal. So I'm going to leave this debate right here and say, as far as stats and production, no guy is better than either. And I believe the two quarterbacks are equal flat out when you look at production on the field. Both quarterbacks are equal. Both quarterbacks produce the same numbers for their team. Now Carson Wentz, he is in a little bit more of a throw-in offense because of Ezekiel Elliott being in Dallas, but Dak still had 4,800 yards this year. So as I end this debate, both quarterbacks are obviously tremendously valuable to their team, and that's no doubt about that. Both quarterbacks, when healthy, are top 10 quarterbacks in the league. There's also no doubt about that. But when you look at skill for skill, obviously Carson Wentz is better. But I'm going to leave the debate and say both quarterbacks are equal all around. That's the end of the debate. No biasness involved. And there you go. So, make sure y'all like the video, comment, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate each and every one of you watching this video. And, man, it's been fun making this video. This video was supposed to actually come out a while ago. Now it's out. Now it's there for y'all to see. So I appreciate y'all 100%. All love over here. And if you're not watching this video, or you know somebody that wants to watch a good analysis on both quarterbacks, please share it to them, because I feel like I gave great analysis on both quarterbacks. So I appreciate that. So make sure you like the video, comment, subscribe to the channel. And it's been your boy MG Nas, and I'm out. Peace. Get us to 181. Come on now.